So welcome to today's class. We're going to be using a blanket or pillow near the end of our class. And you might also like to have 2 blocks nearby. They'll be optional, just depending on how your body's feeling today. So we're going to start laying down. You can come all the way down to your back. And you can decide today if knees bent or legs straight feels better. Checking in especially with your low back and your hips. I'm going to keep my knees bent, and if that is where you are as well, you might choose to take your feet out a bit wider than hip width apart. So the outsides of the feet come a little closer to the outsides of the mat. And then find a comfortable place to rest your arms by your sides. And let yourself start to relax right here. As you settle, you might feel your front body start to drift downward toward your back body. Feeling the connection of your back against the mat. Relaxing through your shoulders, your neck, all around the face. Beginning to breathe with a little bit more mindfulness. Becoming aware of each breath and each part of the breath. The inhale, the top of the inhale, that little pause at the top. The exhale, and the little pause at the bottom of the exhale. Inhaling, slight pause. Exhaling, slight pause. Breathing in, pause. Breathing out, pause. Continuing to breathe with a sense of fullness. Letting the breath expand your inner body. Taking about 3 more breaths. And then use your next inhale to reach your arms overhead. If your knees are bent, you might choose to straighten your legs here as well, so you get a big stretch through the whole body. You could flex your feet and start to wake up the calves and ankles a little bit, maybe reaching out through one arm and then the other. Maybe also pressing forward through one heel and then the other, letting the hips slightly shift. And then as you breathe in, lengthen out completely and evenly. And with your exhale, bring your arms back by your sides, bend your knees, and this time take your feet hip width apart. We're going to breathe in and take the right knee out to the right, rolling to the outside edge of the right foot. And with the exhale, lift the knee and press the inner edge of the foot down. Inhale, left knee opens, rolling to the outer edge of the foot. And exhale, knee lifts, foot grounds down. So alternating here, but you might find the tendency for the hips to tip the same way as the leg is opening. And so we're going to try and prevent that by toning the navel in, creating a little bit of abdominal engagement here. And as the still leg is not moving, you press down into that foot. So that also helps to create a little bit of stability and prevent the pelvis from tipping. Let's take one more so that we end with the left side. And then bring the left knee back up. We're going to extend both arms straight up. So the wrists are on top of the shoulders here. And then with the inhale, we'll widen both knees and both arms. And with the exhale, bring the knees back up, hands shoulder width apart. Inhaling to widen and open. Exhaling to lift, knees and hands. Taking about 3 more here. So really making this more of a full body movement now. Arms and shoulders, core is a bit activated, and the knees and hips are moving. We'll do our last one here. I might have added an extra, but that's okay. We'll lift everything back up and then hug knees into the chest. Take a little bit of side to side motion. And then from here, we'll roll all the way over to the right, coming up into a seat. And choosing your seat, so maybe knees wide, feet together, or maybe one shin crossed in front of the other. You can start with the right shin. And then we're going to step the right hand out to the right and reach the left arm up. And here, instead of taking a side bend, we're going to just lengthen through the left side. So trying to stack the wrist over the shoulder and keep the shoulder over the left ribs and left hip. Take another in-breath here. And with your out-breath now, take a little bit more weight into the left arm, the right arm. But we're going to turn the left hand out and take the left hand down, about parallel to the floor. So here, getting a little bit into the left side of the neck. If it's too much, you can keep the left arm straight up. So that left arm stays floating at any height. And then as you breathe in, we'll take both arms, lifting the shoulders, lifting the head. And with the exhale, turn to the right, landing the right fingertips down, left hand to the right leg, maybe on the shin or the knee. Using an in-breath to lengthen up, and an exhale to settle into this turn, this twist. So the right shoulder gently pulls back. We spin the left ribs forward and keep the hips perfectly forward. So there's no twisting happening in the hips here. Take your last inhale. And as you exhale, release your hands. Stay facing your right knee and start to walk your hands forward so that the belly and chest are about in line with the right thigh. Hands will be forward any amount, so your chest might be a little bit higher away from the knee, or you might be closer, just depending on how you feel today. But then with the right hand, we push the right hand down and away and use that to help roll the left hip down and back. So as you push into the right hand, feel how that grounds the left hip and left sitting bone down. Let's take a final big inhale. And with the exhale, take your hands in along that same angle, and then we'll turn forward. If you have shins crossed, just change the crossing. And then bring the left hand down outside of the left hip, and inhale to take the right arm high. So finding that length through the right side. You might even feel some space and opening being created through the ribs on the right side of the body. And then as we lean a little bit more into the left hand and bend the left elbow, we turn the right hand away and float the right arm down any amount. So the left ear is tipping down toward the left shoulder a bit. And then with the in-breath, we turn the right palm up, lift the left arm all the way up. So both arms stretch high. And with the exhale, we take our twist. Left hand down, right hand to the left leg. And then trying to keep the chest lifting as we turn the upper spine and shoulders. And then breathing in to just release your hands. And exhale, take your hands down and out, forward of the left knee. Landing your hands down. And then starting to push into the left palm a little bit more. feeling how that helps you ground the right hip and right sitting bone. Breathing deeply into the side of the waist. Last inhale. And with the exhale, lift all the way up. And at the end of the exhale, turn forward. From here, we'll move into our tabletop pose. Finding hands and knees. Making sure that the shins are parallel. The heels are in line with the shin bones and the toes. And then taking a slight bend in the elbows. So making sure that the elbows are not hyperextended actually helps to build a little bit of arm strength. And we can work with this as we warm up our spine here. So with the in-breath, we'll let the belly drop as we open the chest and look forward. Exhale, we pull the belly in and round the spine. Moving back and forth here between cat and cow. You can start to make these movements your own by following your breath. Going at a pace that feels right to you, so that no part of the movement is rushed or hurried. We'll take our last round here, breathing in, hugging the shoulder blades together, easy gaze forward. Exhale to round. Sitting bones drop down, head lowers. Inhale to find neutral. And with your exhale, firm your shoulders and take a small bend in your elbows, keeping your elbows in toward the sides of the chest. Breathing in to press up, arms straighten. And breathing out, stretch the hips back. Inhale, rocking forward, tabletop pose. Exhale, elbows bend, shoulders stay firm. Inhaling to press up and exhaling to stretch back. One more time here, breathing in to lift the shoulders. Breathing out, tucking the elbows in as you bend. Inhaling to come up. And exhaling to stretch back, landing in this child's pose for a few breaths. You might stay still, or you might kind of rock the hips a little bit, side to side. With your in-breath, glide forward. And with your out-breath, tuck both sets of toes under. As you breathe in, we're going to lift the right foot and stretch the right leg back. Really lengthening through the leg, but hugging the inner thigh in toward the middle of the mat so the heel isn't coming out to the side here. And then if you'd like to add on, you can take the left arm forward. This is a great pose for lower back strength as we lengthen out and across the body. Let's Take one more inhale here. And with your exhale, lower the right toes. We're going to open up here to a twist, taking the left arm high as we turn the belly and chest. Notice if when you open up to the left, the right hip and leg drops. We want to engage the right thigh here. Continuing to press the right arm down as if we're pushing the ground away. Inhaling here. And exhale, take a big circle with the left arm back by the hip and then down to the ground. Lower your right knee back down. And we'll move to the other side. So both sets of toes are tucked. Inhale to lengthen the left leg back. And right away, feel the outer hips squeezing in toward the middle. From there, you might take the right arm forward. Breathing in, getting even longer. And breathing out, lowering the left toes down. And then inhaling to open up, keeping the left thigh lifted. Turning the chest to the right. Taking one more inhale here, nice big opening. And exhale, right hand circles all the way down by the right hip and then down to the ground. Left knee lowers down. And then from here, we'll take the hands a bit forward, a couple inches each, making sure that the inner elbows are slightly rolled forward. Keeping the toes tucked, we'll start to press into the balls of the feet to lift the hips up and back. Finding our first downward facing dog, we'll widen the feet apart here, about as wide as the mat. Pressing the hips up, maybe bending into the knees a little bit, alternating or keeping your knee bends together. Keeping the arms long, we work toward pressing the chest back toward the thighs. Then step your feet back in about hip width apart. We're going to bend the knees and then walk the hands back toward the feet. Settling weight back into the heels and the balls of the feet evenly. Hips stay high as we let the head hang down. Hands rest on something so that you have a little bit of support here. And we keep the shoulder blades moving away from the floor. So shoulders are still down on your back instead of shrugging up by the ears. Then as we breathe in, we'll lift up halfway, finding a flat back. Exhale to fold in. Two more. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Last time, warming up the back of the legs, the back body. And exhale, folding down toward the legs. Keep the knees bent, roll all the way up to stand. Taking your time to arrive. And then coming into a mountain pose. Heels are lined up underneath the hips. The toes and the center of the knees are both pointing forward. And then we find engagement in the legs without straining the knees. So no hyperextending here, pushing back into the knee joint. Instead, it's almost feeling like there's a small little bend there. Inner thighs are hugging in. Shoulders are relaxed, but the chest is open. Breathing in, we'll stretch the arms out and up, pressing down into the feet, reaching high through the hands. Inhaling here. And exhale, bend your knees as you take your arms halfway forward, chair pose. So with chair pose, the weight of the body naturally goes a little bit back into the heels. But we want to look down at the knees. Make sure you can see all of your toes. And if that's not happening, you'll correct by just pressing the hips back a little bit more. You could sit up a little higher by taking the hips higher if the bend in the knees is too much. Breathing in, rising up to stand, lengthening the body. Exhale, circle the arms down by your sides. Inhale, full stretch up. Exhale, hips back, knees bend, arms forward. Then with your next in-breath, bring your hands to meet in front of your heart, keeping the heart and chest lifted as the tailbone sinks down. Breathing in here. And as you breathe out, take your right arm out to the side, left hand to the outer right leg. And as your left hand comes to the right leg, make sure that the right inner knee doesn't come in toward the left knee. So that right leg is really strong. If it feels okay in your neck, you can look out toward the right hand. And then breathe in, we'll rise up, take the arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward and down, bending the knees as you lower. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale, soften and fold. As you breathe in, walk your hands all the way out to a plank pose. You might keep your legs straight or you might lower your knees down. Full breath in, taking the tailbone down and back toward the back edge of the mat. And with your exhale, elbows tuck in as we lower all the way down to the belly. Once you come down, we'll find our Sphinx pose, lifting the chest as we prop ourselves up with our forearms here. We want to keep the hands active, so pushing into the knuckles and fingertips, just as we do in our tabletop position. Rolling the chest open, keeping the head and neck fairly neutral, so making sure we're not excessively tipping the head back here. Take one last breath in. And with the out breath, lower your chest down. Take your hands back by your sides. Hug the elbows in. Shoulders are firm as we breathe in and press up to all fours. And exhale back, child's pose. Inhaling to rock forward. Exhaling back, downward facing dog. Knees can stay bent here so that the tailbone can curl up toward the sky. And keeping your knees bent, we'll start to walk the hands back toward the feet. Coming back to our forward fold at the back of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands come up to the shins or the thighs. Exhale, bending the knees and folding in. This time we'll keep knees bent. Take hands to the hips And then imagine pushing your sitting bones down into your heels. And with the in-breath, lift all the way up, keeping the back flat. Exhale, mountain pose, 3 breaths. Breathing in, we float the arms high, pressing the feet down, arms stretch up. Exhale to our chair pose. Then we open the left arm out to the left. Take the right hand to the outer left thigh. So there's a slight turn happening here. You can look out to the left hand if it feels right, or keep the chin directly over the chest. Making sure that the low back stays long, so there's no sway, no excessive curve there. And then breathing in, we find neutral, stretching all the way up tall. Exhale, fold forward and down. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Breathing in, walking forward to plank pose. Engaging the thighs and pressing back through the legs. Arms are active here, but trying to keep that slight bend in the elbows. Inhaling. Exhaling, knees down and lower down. Lifting up to our Sphinx pose. Elbows under shoulders, maybe a little bit forward if you need to adjust. But forearms are parallel to each other. Pressing the tops of the feet down. And lengthening the tailbone back and away from you. And with that, you might even feel part of the rib cage start to lift away from the ground. Creating a little bit of tone in the belly and abdominals. Taking a final inhale. And exhale, elbows widen as we lower. Sliding hands back next to the chest. Elbows hug in. And then with that, we lift up, pushing up to all fours. And exhale, pressing the hips back. From here, we're coming up to tabletop pose. And we're going to make our way forward to the top of the mat. So if you have blocks and you'd like to use them for this transition, you could take them underneath your hands so you have a little bit more height to step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold forward. Hands to hips, driving the sitting bones down toward the heels. We lift all the way up with the inhale, flat back. Exhale to arrive and relax, mountain pose. And then we'll work with our tree pose here, balancing pose. So we're going to start by standing strong on the left leg and bending at the right knee so that we can pick up the heel. Right toes will be down on the ground to start, and then we'll rotate the right leg out, but we want to do so without pulling that right hip back. So the right hip stays square to the front of the mat. And then from there, we keep the leg where it is and just slide the right foot in to meet the left ankle. So if you'd like to challenge your balance a little bit today, you could start to get lighter on the right toes, maybe even taking them away from the ground completely. Making sure that the left leg stays strong and active, especially through the outer left hip. We'll take one final breath here. And with the out breath, we're going to turn the right knee and thigh forward, toes turn forward as well. You might keep that right foot lifted or tap the toes lightly before stepping the right foot back long. So as you take that long step back with the right foot, make sure you have enough distance between your inner feet. Sometimes that right foot sneaks into the middle of the mat or beyond, which makes balance really difficult. So you could take it out a little bit more to the right. And then keeping the right heel lifted, we'll take a little bend in the right knee. And if it feels right to you, arms can go forward and up. Pressing down into the feet, and then imagining that the energy in the legs is pulling the feet apart, away from each other. Arms can float up a little bit higher, stretching long. With your exhale, take your hands down to your hips, and then pull the elbows back. Opening up through the heart. Taking a final breath in. And with your out breath, step up into the left foot. Right foot lands next to the left. Standing mountain pose. And then we'll keep the right leg strong and active as we stand strong on the right foot and bend at the left knee. Left heel lifts, and then we turn the leg out to the side, keeping the left hip forward. Sliding the left foot in to meet the right ankle, and maybe staying with left toes down on the mat, or challenging balance a little bit, sliding the foot slightly higher up to the ankle and maybe the lower shin. Right outer hip is hugging in. So that prevents the right hip from popping out toward the right edge of the mat. And then with the inhale, we take the left foot forward, maybe lowering the toes to the ground, or keeping toes lifted and then taking that big step back, finding your high lunge. Left toes land, and then we soften the left knee a little bit. Maybe staying with this nice hip opening in the front of the left leg, or maybe adding on, arms going up high. Palms are spinning in toward each other, so that the thumbs are pointing toward the back of the mat. Inhaling here. Exhaling, taking hands down to hips, drawing the elbows back. Creating more space around the chest to take in some deeper breath. Inhale and exhale, stepping up into the right foot and leg, landing the left foot down. Inhale, arms sweep high. Exhale, hinge forward and fold. And then bend your knees enough to take your hands to the ground. You might like to use blocks for this transition here too. We're going to just step 1 foot back at a time, coming down to hands and knees. Once you're on hands and knees, you can take the blocks away. And we're going to lay all the way down here, coming to the belly. And so just stack the backs of your hands, giving yourself a place to lay your forehead down. You might also use fists underneath the forehead if that feels better. Relaxing through the legs, relaxing through the belly, sensing the widening and narrowing through the rib cage with each breath. And then we're going to use our blanket or pillow here for the next pose. We're going to roll a little bit onto the left side so we can pick up and lift our left knee, right knee, up a little bit closer to the right shoulder. And it's usually good for the knee to have a little bit of padding here. So you can place the inner knee down on your blanket or pillow. Make sure the shin is parallel to the long side of the mat. So we don't want a big bend in the knee or take the foot way out to the side here, just about parallel. And then you can let your left ear come down toward the floor. So your head is turned to look out by the right elbow. Let yourself soften into this pose. Letting each breath create a little bit more opening, a little bit more ease, a little bit more restfulness throughout the body and mind. And then we'll start to press back through the right foot. So the right leg lengthens, and then we come back to the right hip. Turn the head back into center for a breath or two. You might rock the hips a little bit, side to side. And then we'll move to the other side. So you can take your blanket or pillow over to the outer left leg. And then rolling a bit to the right side of the body. And with that, sliding the left knee up. Making sure that the shin is about parallel. And then finding a place where you can rest the knee so that you feel some sensation in the hips, but if it's too much, the heel can lower toward the back of the mat, so away from your head. And on this side, we turn the right ear down toward the floor. And then become still, softening into the left hip. Send some energy back through the left leg so that it becomes straighter. Rolling back onto the left hip and then turning your head into center. Letting the hips rock side to side. And from here, we'll turn all the way over to lay on the back. We'll take knees bent, feet out about as wide as the mat. Now letting the thighs rotate inward here. The restorative pose gave us some nice external rotation. And now we'll slightly counter that with some internal rotation. Hands can rest on your belly, or if you'd like to get into the upper body a little more, you can take your arms out into a cactus shape. Elbows about shoulder height. Elbows could be bent or they could be out straight to the sides. From here, we'll transition into relaxation pose. You can walk your feet back in and then start to extend out through the legs. Arms come in a little bit closer to your sides. Taking the backs of the hands to the floor. Making any final adjustments that you need here to set yourself up for stillness, relaxation, and surrender. To wiggle your fingers and toes. Bringing in some small, gentle movements. And letting your breath bring in some gentle, wakeful energy. You might stretch long through your arms and legs, or reach the arms up and back behind you. And then bending the knees, hugging them into the chest. Taking a moment here to just draw inward, maybe rocking a little bit with gentle movements side to side. And as you're ready, rolling over to your side, using your hands to press up to a seat and closing your eyes. Keeping this awareness within and feeling how you feel. Being with this experience and appreciating what it's like to take care of yourself. As you breathe in, stretch your arms out and up, reaching high. Hands meet at the top and we'll lower them down to the heart. The goodness in me sees and honors the goodness in you. Namaste. All right, everyone. Thanks for your practice today.